So, this video is going to be about things that might happen in the Batman 2, basically prediction of things and things that have already been confirmed to happen and what I would like to see happen. So, first of all, one of my predictions is we already know from a lot of the things they've said and tried to hide that the Court of Owls are going to be very involved in this one. They're basically going to be the League of Shadows. But instead of coming in the beginning, there will probably be like a presence that will be properly established in Batman 2 and then they will appear later on. Because they've kind of not been properly established. Like I've watched the Batman so many times and I cannot find any evidence of the Court of Owls existence. Like they kind of like in the Batman they left it like an open question. Like there were a lot of like, should I say throwbacks or references, like the owl in Riddler's Riddle letter and Batman's costume looking kind of like how the Court of Owls costume look. I hope they don't basically make the Court of Owls another version of the League of Shadows, because that's not what, and they don't make them like train Batman, because that's like the opposite of what the Court of Owls are supposed to be. I hope they don't basically do what Gotham did. Gotham is the Batman before Batman TV show where they basically said that the Court of Owls was a smaller version of the League of Shadows. So that was the whole thing. And the Court of Owls as like the overarching villains this time instead of the League of Shadows could be an interesting like departure from like the League of Shadows, and they could basically fix, should I say fix the mistakes? Those movies are over. They could basically avoid the pitfalls that the League of Shadows fell into in their own movies. So this is a bit of criticism for the League of Shadows in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises. Even though those are kind of my two movies, my two movies are the two the ones that, well, the first one and the one that everybody either would rather forget or forgets. Yeah, but yeah, the League of Shadows, they have a few issues, but to talk about the Court of Owls first, they are basically a secret cabal of rich elites that control Gotham from the shadows. Apparently, they used to control it in the past, and now and then they came back, like they had a resurgence, and then they are going to come back. And so in the comics, they come back and use the Talons, which are the owl dressed assassins, to basically wrestle Gotham away from the Bat family. So here's the thing. So the Court of Owls is giving me major care. Do what? I don't know if I can say this. So the Court of Owls is giving me the vibes of like a popular terrorist group that thought that white people were so like. Okay, this video is not going to become that big. I'm talking about the how do I reference them? The clan, the clan. I'm talking about the clan. The Court of Owls is giving me a lot of a group of white people that are planning on how to like take control of their society. A lot of them being rich people who want to preserve their power. I don't know. It feels kind of like the clan. And also they had a golden age before, where they were in power and they controlled everything, and now they want to come back. That feels like the story of like the clan. Like first of all, when they emerged in the Reconstruction era, which is when the clan first emerged, if you didn't know, and then when they came back, doing around the time that, if I'm getting the dates right, literally around the time that Batman was first made. And also the court, they're very nice, like parallel to Batman, a bunch of rich people who want to control Gotham because they think it's what's best for the city. And it will probably The Batman is more critical of Batman as a whole. So the court literally being like a mirror of what Batman could and any organized group that Batman leads could be would be very interesting. Right? So unlike the League of Shadows, they don't really have like any like I wouldn't say they don't have any noteworthy members, but they're not as noteworthy as the League of Shadows, which could be a pitfall. It could be. The League of Shadows have like a wide variety of like assassins who are part of them, apart from like Ra's al Ghul, Talia, and sometimes Deathstroke in the Nolan movies. It was Bane instead. Kind of. Now that I think about it, I kind of wish it was Deathstroke now. Wouldn't that have made more sense? Anywho, sometimes the League of Shadows have like Lady Shiva or something. So at first the courts doesn't have like memorable villains that they could like use to fight the Bat family until you basically realize that they don't need their own villains, that they could actually do something very interesting in the next Batman movies to come when the courts are the bad guys, which is that they control the cops. So here's the thing. I love anti-cop Batman stories. Like usually Batman in the beginning of his adventure, so to say, when he's like way more critical of the police and he usually has to beat them up so that he can like escape and keep doing his vigilantism, and also Jim Gordon and his critique of the cops and everything that they stand for and how he wants to fix it from the inside, yada 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 yada. So that would basically, because the Batman is again very similar to Batman Begins in its similar depiction of Batman fighting the cops. So just like Batman Begins, they could just do what Nolan movies did and just use Jim Gordon to make us like the cops again in part two, which is very like, I don't know, Batman working with the cops kind of makes him look like a cop, and we just started like criticizing the Batman as like a figure, like what he represents, what the actual Batman would look like. Basically, a lonely, edgy teenager beating up poor people. So, I don't know, if you now make him like befriend the cop and you now make the cops look good, that could like spoil the message that you were almost getting up to in the first Batman movie. So, enough about the. I'll come back to the Court of Owls and I guess bad cop or what bad cops could be called. I'm going to talk about basically the person who is being confirmed as the bad guy. That is Clayface. So, if you know Clayface, is usually like a gargantuan mud monster who sometimes turns into people. But the Batman, like the Nolan movies, likes to be realistic in its depiction of characters, so they're probably not going to do that. So first of all, the whole everything has to be realistic thing. It seems like it has a lot of flaws because there are a lot of fantastical elements to Batman that I would like to see, like, adapted to like the big screen, but it's not what we're getting. So getting more realistic stuff. But there is a way to realistically adapt Clayface. It's actually very easy. Just they've already done it with Riddler, and that is to make him Hush. So Clayface has like a specific ability apart from being a giant mud monster that can be very useful, and it's an ability that he shares with Hush. But Hush is a surgeon who has to like make a fake face that looks like anybody he wants, I guess. But Clayface usually just turns into the ability is shapeshifting. Clayface can turn into whoever his heart desires, which is kind of in the okay. So I mainly know Clayface from the animated series. Haven't read Batman. I haven't read a lot of Batman comics. I wouldn't say I haven't read Batman comics as a whole. I haven't read a lot of Batman comics, so I'm going to go off from the Clayface of the original animated series. So the Clayface is not only like an interesting choice. He's a very interesting choice, but also like you could do the whole the basically he could be the Two Face of this coming like trilogy, where he's like the good guy turned bad. Except instead of Two Face like being turned bad like by the criminal elements, by the criminal elites, or well, in the Dark Knight movie by Joker being an agent of chaos, you could make Clayface like be what he was in the animated series, and that was of uh, a victim of I've forgotten who it was. It wasn't Ferris Boyle. That's that's I almost called him Citizen Cole. That's Mr. Freeze. But I do. He was a rich ass. Yeah, I remember him. He was a rich ass that practically paid some dogs to like dump him in some chemicals. You could keep all that, and you wouldn't even have to like make him a surgeon. Like there are a lot of things. I just realized there are a lot of things you could do with Clayface. A lot of things you could do, like, well, yeah, and also Clayface is practically, I wouldn't say he's confirmed to be gay in the animated series, but he has uh, there's this guy, I've forgotten his name, but he's basically his moral, like, I wouldn't say his moral guide, but he's basically like following him around while he was an actor and while he was trying to like, he was basically following around trying to make sure he was okay before he became Clayface. So, yeah, they could mix. How they now put that into the Batman and the wider context of the Court of Owls existing, they could do a lot of interesting things with the Court of Owls. Like they could make the person who did that, Clayface, a member of the Court of Owls and make him like a victim. Hell, they could they could make a lot of people the victims of the Court of Owls now that I think about it. So back to the Court of Owls. I said we were going to go back to them. So basically, the Court of Owls were created by some of Gotham's founding family, including and usually not limited to the Waynes. Even though like Bruce's parents are like canonically used to like fight against the Court of Owls and their influence and all, they used to try and do their whole social justice like reform Gotham thing and basically what you see in the Batman. So Bruce, the Batman had something with Bruce Wayne's parents not being as like spotless as like you think they are, and I do like me a kind of sporty Bruce Wayne parents situation. I do like his parents being not the best people sometimes, especially when it's his dad. It's always very interesting when it's his dad. And also so the five families, actually the five founding families, that either one of them or all of them will probably be responsible for the Court of Owls will be the Waynes and the Arkhams. Canonically those two. So, oh yeah, interesting side note. Martha is usually a Kane, if I can remember. Yeah, a Kane in the comics. But now they've made her an Arkham. So this has like a few implications for Batman, because his cousin Cathy Kane usually also becomes a vigilante Batwoman. So is she not going to exist in this world, which would make it way easier and it would be less bloated, I guess. It would be less bloated if it does exist, or will she exist and instead be an Arkham? And we can learn more about the Arkham family, because if we are going to learn more about the Arkham family, they have to bring in Amadeus Arkham. I'm not sure if Amadeus Arkham is like an original like Batman Asylum, Arkham Asylum, the games, by the way. I mean the games because I know there's a comic, Arkham Asylum creation, or if it's from the comics and then they brought it in, or if it's a combination of the two, maybe Amadeus Academus. Amadeus, maybe I said it again. Maybe Amadeus Arkham was like originally in the comics, but he was like a character that nobody cared about that existed in the past, sort of like Solomon Wayne being a lawyer or a judge or something. And then they took him from the comics and made him a deeper character. In the Arkham Asylum game, there is this whole story about Amadeus Arkham and how he's basically trying to treat the guy who murdered, I think it's either his family or his wife or his parents, or it's basically a Batman story. But it's the Batman, and you can use any of his villains dichotomy, but I would say it's the Batman and the Joker dichotomy because the Joker is usually the person he's trying the hardest to fix and he just never fixes. Because Arkham Asylum is a terrible place to fix people, like fix Arkham Asylum, like Batman. It's just you put a few of your billions into developing Arkham Asylum. Like I feel like you'd Batman rather beat up poor people than just make Arkham Asylum a better place. But yeah, Amadeus basically goes crazy and becomes a murderer himself. And it's like a dark, harrowing story that you apparently learn from his ghost in the Arkham Asylum game. So yeah, they could bring in Amadeus Arkham, and you could just have this whole through line of all the Arkhams being crazy, and you, of course, that would imply I wouldn't say that would imply that would also be true in this case for Bush and Cathy, but who knows, maybe Cathy could like overcome the crazy and be better. Hey, maybe that's how Cathy stops killing people, because originally she does like use guns and just straight up kills people. But like that's how like she becomes a better person. She just straight up just stops killing people and she's no longer crazy. Hell, she could be the inverse, where she starts off by killing people and then she actually like makes Arkham Asylum a better place to kill people, since she's an actual Arkham and it would be more of her responsibility than Bush. I just that is a really cool idea. There's no way anybody who is actually working on anything of those movies will hear that. But like, if you have plans for Cathy, I just do one out there. I just do like 2 movies worth of plans. How did the freaking Batwoman show not think of any of this? How did I don't want to talk about? I'm not talking about the Batwoman show. Anywho, that's basically it. That's basically it. And the Penguin, I think the Penguin would be a good place to start for like the Batman series, but I don't know if it will have anything like interesting or noteworthy. I guess we could see the first time the Court of Owls is mentioned and referred to. I doubt they would be the big bad. They are setting up like Sophia Falcone as the big bad, which I like. I like Sophia. She's usually a very cool character, and they are going for much more of a crazy Sophia, because I guess they are getting like she was in Arkham Asylum, but usually she goes to prison, but Arkham Asylum basically is a prison. So they're like changing it from prison to Arkham Asylum now means changing her from like a hardened criminal to like a thug. So from a hardened criminal thug to like a straight up psycho serial killer almost looking person, which would be an interesting change to see. I usually, yeah, Sophia Falcone is usually one of the more interesting Batman characters, especially for the. So Batman media usually has this like transition of like Batman fighting like regular like crime bosses and thugs on the streets, and then it turns into Batman fighting basically genocidal terrorists, and and every new genocidal terrorist of the week has their own gimmick or philosophy or reason for being genocidal terrorists. Like, I don't know, the Riddler wanting to prove he's smarter than Batman. Poison Ivy thinking that man is a sickness on the planet and they're basically killing the planet, which, yeah, you can't really disagree with that. You can't really disagree with that. Like, you can't really disagree with that. Or just Joker, just being a genocidal terrorist, because why not? And also the joke, yeah. So everybody was so, it was very funny to see everybody afraid that, oh, the Joker is going to be the main bad guy for this upcoming movie. And I was just like, huh? The first movie didn't set him up well enough. Granted, Batman Begins also set him up with literally just a card and mentioning his name, and then they just went straight for the Joker in the Dark Knight. But the Batman has shown that this franchise, despite its similarities to the whole Nolan trilogy, it wants to do something a bit more different. It still has the whole realistic Batman flair to it, but it's been able to capture like the environment of Gotham and the underlying politics and the political situation of Gotham. So yeah, I don't think, yeah, Joker won't be a villain for a while. They might like build him up to maybe be a villain in part 3. Maybe he like breaks out a bunch of villains that he like gathers together in Arkham Asylum. Yeah, I'm guessing he's going to do that. Or they're going to do like, was it No Man's Land where he had a war with Riddler? So yeah. And also, last thing I want to say before I end the video, Bella Royale is Court of Owls. I am not saying she was. I am not predicting that she is going to be Court of Owls. She's Court of Owls. I have a feeling that Bella Royale is Court of Owls. And if anybody has watched the Batman vs. Robin movie, one of the most clickbaity titles in the former animated movie series, the DCAMU, I think it was called. There is a villain, or she's originally introduced as a love interest. I've forgotten her name. You know, very white and blonde. She ends up being the Grand Master of the Court of Owls. Oh yeah, the leader of the Court of Owls is called the Grand Master. And then, yeah, okay, it doesn't sound that similar to Imperial Wizard, but the leader of the clan is called the Imperial Wizard. Grand Master, Imperial Wizard. I don't know, it sounds similar to me. Look, the freaking Court of Owls looks like the clan to me. I cannot be the only one who is like recognizing similarities. Like they have people they send out to kill people that they don't like. Whatever. I need to make a better structured video on explaining the similarities between the clan and the Court of Owls. What was I saying? Yeah, so I think that Bella Royale is going to basically take Silver, I think. Is it Silver McCloud? I've forgotten her name completely. She's one member of the rich, wealthy elite, but I think Bella Royale is going to take up the. I don't think she's going to be like straight up like the Grand Master of like the Court of Owls. I think she's a tool being used by the Court of Owls to basically get them back into politics so that they can control the city. Which would make Bella Royale a bad guy, but this is why I said she's like a tool being used, because she could, I wouldn't say they would redeem her, but they could make her more understandable. Like in The Boys, Victoria Newman, they could basically just do Victoria Newman. All they need to do is just do Victoria Newman, who is I think she's my favorite or second favorite in The Boys. They should just do Victoria Newman. And they could even parallel this with, I wouldn't say parallel with Victoria Newman, because I'm not saying that they should just directly be inspired by Victoria Newman. They could do something different and interesting with Bella Royale. But they could do the whole, she was like besties with the hero thing by making her like actually close with Bruce. They don't have to make them a thing though. They don't have to. Now that I say that out loud, I can see them just making them a thing. And I don't know about that. Maybe they're just friends. Yeah, maybe they're just friends. And maybe Bella Royale like trying to like get Bruce into like politics and like helping people in the first movie was basically her trying to recruit Bruce. Look, I'm not even. Bella Royale is such a. She's like a not a red hen because she's probably going to be a main antagonist. I wouldn't say like an evil villain like the rest, but she's Court of Owls. She has to be Court of Owls. There's no other explanation. There's no other explanation. You could even do a thing where she, like as a member of the Court of Owls, like breaks out a bunch of members of like Arkham Asylum, and then that's how like Joker's whole breakout and Joker being the main villain for his own movie. Or hell, you don't even have to make Joker the main villain for his own movie. You could make it like a background villain. The Joker is a really cool character. He has a lot of like very iconic iconographies around him. He's very iconic and stuff and recognizable, but he's not that interesting as a bad guy. Which is why there's a multitude of villains in Rogues Gallery. One of the reasons why Batman has the best Rogues Gallery, and they are never used. So yeah, using Clayface as the next villain is a good sign. That yeah, not only does Matthews know a lot about like the Batman universe, and he's going to blend multiple different parts of different bad guys. Like he's probably going to combine Clayface's story a bit with Harvey Dent's story of like losing himself because of the damage that has been done to his face. Yeah, they're probably going to make it more about his face than his body the last time. They're probably going to make him. Yeah, you can't do a Clayface story without him being gay. He's basically like a victim of the corporation, an actor or a model or something. I've forgotten whether it was an actor or a model. That basically becomes a victim of. Was it the corporations hiring him to act? He shall becomes a victim of basic unnecessary violence, like directed against him, which could be a good metaphor if you're a good enough writer. For like, yeah, it could be a good metaphor, but I don't know. So yeah, that's basically all I want to say. Yeah, so the main takeaway from this video should be Bella Real is a member of the Court of Owls, and I'm the one first person to say it. I'm the first person to say it. Bella Royale, this Court of Owls. She's such a like. She looks. Come on, I don't know what it is. It's just there's just something about her. Starting to sound racist, but she's just something. There's something about her. It's like this is. It's like she inspires way too much hope. It has to be fake. It has to be fake. Hey, it might get like boost even more involved in politics, so he can oppose her and mainly oppose the Court of Owls. And also it's like, oh yeah, if the Court of Owls are supposed to be, there is this one detractor. If the Court of Owls are supposed to be the KKK, like, why would they recruit a black woman and then make her their political tool if there's a reference to the KKK? Well, I don't know. Why was the Democratic Party on basically the leading figures, or why were they the leading figures of the Confederacy, and then later make the first? Should I say make the first? Yeah, later elects the first black president. It would literally be based on real history. And it's not even the Court of Owls becoming like less racist. It's them like using like, how do I say this, much more liberal like actions in order to gain power in society and make a new golden age for themselves where they can hold all the power. Which again, the original Democrats were part of the Confederacy, and a lot of people in the Confederacy made up to KKK. It's just something to think about. And then the first ever black president was a literal Democrat surrounded by a lot of people who, should I say, associated with the KKK? No, I don't want to insult the Democrats in this. Let's not get too political. So Mythical, Bella Real is part of the Court of Owls. So yeah.